the 2020 St. John Henry Newman Association Annual Conference. First time ever that we've gone virtual, as far as I know. And so far, so good. Good turnout in this room. And I'm really looking forward to this presentation. Mary Hubley is our first presenter, and she's with Nicholas Maria Publishers, and her presentation is St. John Henry Newman's Poetry in Liturgical Song. And I think this is gonna be a great way to kick things off. And then we will have about, Mary, take 25, 30 minutes, give or take, however, we'll see how it goes. And then we'll have time for Q&A afterwards. And people can put questions in like the chat, or we can wait till the end. You can raise your hand and we can have a discussion. And then this session will go till, what time is it? So it's 5:30 where I'm at, 6:30 in the East Coast. And so it'll go till 7:20 or 6:20 here in Central Time. But I'll try to keep us on track. Sound good?
Great.
All right, so I'll mute myself, and Mary will listen to Mary.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Matt. Hello, everybody. I see some old faces. This is wonderful to be here, and thank you for joining from my room. I've been involved in intense work in regard to music in the Catholic Church. I felt that we've been greatly disserviced by what is prevalent and has been prevalent for 25, 35, 40 years. And it's been a puzzle to me that it has gone on so long without recognition being given to true catechumeny. I have to say that I have a collection of catechumeny which is being actually honestly printed up, and it will have an Nita Obstat and imprimatur through the office of Bishop Kevin J. Rhodes of Fort Wayne, South Bend, Indiana, for which I'm intensely grateful. But so you'll be seeing this soon. Now, what I want to point out is that I made a discovery in regard to my music that had never occurred to me before until I saw Richard Shays, Dick Shays, well, on one of the newsletters, there was a copy of a poem written by Newman, Christmas Without Christ. And I saw that and just read it and kept it just on a table for several weeks. Just something about it absolutely fascinated me. And it wasn't until I was reading more on the poetry of St. John Henry Newman that I realized what it was. It's that the poetry for Christmas Without Christ was in iambic pentameter, which is, 2 foot, to a line with 5 lines. So roughly, but to simplify that, I'd say it as ta-dum, 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 ta-dum. Lead kindly light, lead kindly light. See, ta-dum, 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 ta-dum. So then there was Dr. Shea's Saga papers, but Christmas, Christ Without Christmas. Okay, and so here it is. Further ado here. Bear with me. Oh yes, this is found in the Lyra Apostolica. Okay, although oddly enough, it has the title of the section of the booklet it's in. The title of the section is Home, but there's no title to this, just number 4. And excuse the voice, okay. And how can I keep my Christmas feast in its due festive show, reft of the sight of the high priest from whom its glories flow? I hear the tuneful bells around the blessed towers I see. A stranger on a foreign ground, they peal a fast for me. O Britons, now so brave and high, how will you weep today, when Christ in judgment passes by and calls the bride away. Your Christmas then will lose its mirth, Easter lose its bloom. Abroad, a scene of strife and dearth, within a cheerless home. Well, so then I realized that that is like a companion verse to Lead Kindly Light. For those, there are some of you who are here that I know were there when I first had written Lead Kindly Light. I knew Father Gacy. My husband Murray worked with him at the Visitor when Father Gacy was president of the Sunday Visitor. And Father Gacy started up, the Friends of Venerable Cardinal Newman. And I asked Father, I said, Father, how about, would you like me to write a hymn in honor of St. Father Newman? And he said, oh yeah, go ahead. So I did, but first of all, I told myself, wait a minute, this is holy stuff. This guy's going to be a saint. So be really prayerful and all that. So when you start out, when you're going to write a hymn or a piece of music, as you all know is your work, your creative work, you don't know what the end result is going to be. You don't know. So it's like something coming out of nothing. And I think the analogy with Mary, the Mother of Christ, Theotokos, is very, very synonymous to what goes on with a creative work, such as bringing forth a piece of music. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just know I wanted it to sound somewhat in the area of the music, the Victorian British music, or the music of Gustav Holst, his St. Paul's, his great work in St. Paul's, or Edgar, Pomp and Circumstance, and Benjamin Britten. So I, of course, knew those composers. And what came out was the Lead Kindly Light that I taught at the second conference, which is held at St. Joseph's in Rensselaer. And also, I think another one in Chicago, and there might have been another conference. So some of you might be already familiar with this. But without further ado, let me try to play for you Lead Kindly Light as recorded then. I have to first of all say, the wonderful vocalist is Father George Killian. Dr. Killian has been the chair of the Department of Music at Huntington University, Huntington, Indiana, just down the street from me. And the organist is Dr. Janice Fulbright, also of Huntington University. So without further ado, let me play this.
Lead kindly light, from within circling glow. Lead me on, the night is dark, and I am far from home. And I am far from home. Lead kindly light, lead thou me on, lead kindly light. Lead thou me
Yes, it's a great pleasure for me to let you hear that, to pray that beautiful hymn. And thank God for it. Grace of God, grace of God. Now, back to Sorry. That was the beginning of Jesus, the Lord of Life. Okay, back to Richard Shea's inclusion of Christmas Without Christ in the newsletter. So I'm looking at that hymn or that piece of poetry, and I knew there's some kind of bonding that I didn't know had happened until I told myself, okay, I'm going to take that Christmas Without Christ, I'm going to try to set that to music too. But I hope it's going to be as good as Read Kindly Light. And then I just started fooling around with it and realized, oh my gosh, it fits the music to Read Kindly Light like a glove, absolutely like a glove. It's because of the iambic pentameter pattern. So in other words, the da-da. So then, after I did that, it turned out, well, actually, I want to have a reading of this by Father Phil DeVolder. He's a chaplain at the Mother House of Victorian Sisters here in Huntington. And Father agreed to read one of these poems for me, for you, for us. This one is The Scars of Sin. Of course, we all know the great tragedy that's been befalling our children, the world, actually. And when you read some of Newman's poetry, it's astounding that his depth of awareness of human conscience, of the way it plays with itself. Here's the scars of sin. My smile is bright, my glance is free, my voice is calm and clear. Dear friend, I seem a type to thee of holy love and fear. But I am scanned by eyes unseen, and these no saints surround. They meet what is by what has been, and joy the lost is found. Erst my good angel shrank to see my thoughts and ways of ill, and now he scarce dared gaze on me, scarred, seamed, and crippled still.
Christmas without Christ.
That's right, Christmas.
How can I keep my Christmas feast?
59 seconds, sorry. Sorry. Okay. So, sorry.
We are now going to listen to 6 poems from the pen of St. John Henry Cardinal Newman. Our first poem is entitled, The Scars of Sin. My smile is bright, my glance is free, my voice is calm and clear. Dear friend, I seem a type to thee of holy love and fear. I am scanned by eyes unseen, and these no saints around. They meet what is by what has been, and joy the lost is found. First my good angel shrank to see my thoughts and ways of ill. Now he scarce dare gaze on me, scar seamed and crippled still.
Thank you. I know we have to be careful of the use of certain texts in liturgical celebrations. This wouldn't necessarily, Scars of Sin necessarily wouldn't be a good Sunday processional or anything, but it could be a wonderful reflective, meditative preparation for penance services or, any private use or liturgies. But the profundity is a wonderful thing. Christmas without Christ is the one that I told you that I saw that Richard Shea put in the newsletter. And, without Christmas nowadays in the States, in fact, in the world, we really feel that he was so right with this. But Newman said, and this was in his section entitled Home, but again, it didn't have the title to it. The title must have been given later. So how can I keep my Christmas feast in its due festive show, bereft of the sight of the high priest, from whom its glories flow? I hear the tuneful bells around, the blessed towers I see, a stranger on a foreign ground, they peal a fast for me. O Britons, now so brave and high, how will ye weep the day when Christ in judgment passes by and calls the bride away? Your Christmas then will lose its mirth, your Easter lose its bloom. Abroad, a scene of strife and dearth within a cheerless home. Let's hear Father Phil.
The poem is called Christmas Without Christ. How can I keep my Christmas feast? It is due festive show. Drift to the side of the high priest, whom its glorious flow. I hear the tuneful bells around, the blessed towers I see. A stranger on a foreign ground, they peal a fast for me. O Britons, now so brave and high, how will ye weep the day when Christ in judgment passes by and calls the bride away? Your Christmas then will lose its mirth, your Easter lose its bloom. Abroad, a scene of strife and dearth, within, a cheerless home.
Thank you, Father Phil. So, you could hear as Father was reciting, ta-dum, 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 ta-dum. So, yes, I wanted to say that the canonization of John Henry Newman did inspire interest in his poetry, because it tells you about the man who became the great saint. I told you about the iambic pentameter meter, the fact that it's the poetic pattern of 5 accents or stresses. Be kindly light, amid the crouching crow. Okay? Because of this, some of Newman's poetic texts conform to the musical structure of a number of my hymns, Gate of Heaven hymns, through the use of the ancient practice of contrafacta, which is the substitution of a text or poem into a specific melody without any alteration of melody. It's ancient practice. It goes back to 2nd century. And anyway, 9 selections from the same poetry are in my collection presented. They're clothed, as it were, in the same hymn music as Lead Kindly Light. Through these verses, one may gain more than a glimpse of the man later to be proclaimed a saint, his keen sense of conscience, his moral sensitivity, and his depth of human feeling. Coincidentally, it's interesting that Newman's friend and fellow Oratorian, Father Frederick William Faber, often used the same meter for his voluminous collection of poetry. Hence, he wrote of Eternal Years, which is included in his collection. He wrote Eternal Years, has 16 verses, and it is not just reputed, but it's actually a fact that Newman, in the closing days of his life, had requested the Oratorians to play for him on a harmonium repeatedly of Eternal Years. A profound reflection on the next life. So, let me read to you of Eternal Years, part of it. Using from my papers. Well, I'll first. So, oh no, he left it for end. Sorry. Okay. Next, the title of another Newman text. This one titled Fastidiousness. Fastidiousness. So let me find this and play this. This is Father for the ticket first. Wait, sorry.
Our next poem is called Sensitiveness. Time was I shrank from what was right and feared what was wrong. I would not brave the sacred fight because the foe was strong. But now I cast that finer sense and sorer shame aside. Such dread of sin was indolence, such aim at heaven was pride. So when my Savior calls, I rise and call me to my best, leaving me him with silent eyes and hope and fear. I rest, I step, I mount where he is led. Men count my haltings o'er. I know them, yet, though self I dread, I love his precepts more.
Yes, great lesson for all of us. Remorse is the title of another of his poems. And bear with me. I did have all my things set up, but as you well know, as time goes, okay, so I need to read you his remorse before. So, in this collection of these hymns, all 16 verses are presented because, wow, what a great meditation. So I'm looking for 51. Had we been able to have this conference at Notre Dame, I would love to have been able to have a solemn liturgy and remorse, which had a subtitle, Shame. Boy, does that ever speak to our contemporary people. I bear upon my brow the sign of sorrow and of pain. Alas, no hopeful cross is mine. It is the mark of Cain. So I repeat, it is the mark of Cain. The chorus of passion and the fret of godless hope and fear, toil, care, and guilt, the hues have set and fixed that sternness there, and fixed that serious there. Dear Savior, wash out the imprinted shame, that I no more may pine. Since martyred, though not meet to claim thy cross, a saint of thine. Thy cross, a saint of thine. There's a fourth verse. Actually, no, there isn't a fourth verse. Anyway, that's, and then after each, for the lead kindly, like lead down, for that, I repeat some of these texts also. We play Father's version of Remorse. Find it. This is just a second.
Our fourth poem for the saints is called The Brand of Cain. I bear upon my brow the sign of sorrow and of pain. Alas, no hopeful cross is mine. It is the brand of Cain, the course of passion, and the fret of godless hope and fear, toil, care, and guilt, their hues have set, and fix their sternness there. Savior, wash out the imprinted shame, that I no more may pine. Sin's martyr will not meet to claim thy cross, the saint of thine.
Newman's wonderful sensitivity to the spiritual battles. Excuse me. So all of these are replicable to that lead Kylie light melody. So it'd be easy for, if you have a congregation or a group, to, well, for all of us Newman people, to be able to sing these others. And I'm sure there are far more than just the 6 that I have, but I wanted to stop at 6. And the next one is titled For the Dead. And let's see, just bear with me. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's somewhat lacks in organization. For the Dead. Okay, so then this is. So For the Dead is wonderful because it brings up a topic that is sadly less and less noticeable, and that's respect and reverence for the dead, and prayer, exhortations for prayer for the dead. Newman says, and For the Dead, underneath he put his own subtitle, a hymn. And, okay, here it is. Help, Lord, the souls which thou hast made, the souls to thee so dear, in prison for the debt unpaid of sins committed here, of sins committed here. Those holy souls, they suffer on, resigned in heart and will, until thy high behest is done, and justice has its fill. For daily falls, for pardoned crime, they joy to undergo the shadow of thy cross sublime, the remnant of thy woe. Newman repeated the help, Lord, the souls which thou hast made, the souls to thee so dear, in prison for the debt unpaid of sins committed here. He has a 5th verse. Oh, by their patience of delay, their hope against their pain, their sacred seal to burn away, disfigurement and stain, disfigurement and stain. Oh, by their fire of love, not less in keenness than the flame. Oh, by their very helplessness. Oh, by thy own great name, by thy own great name. Good Jesu, help. Sweet Jesu, aid these souls to thee most dear, in prison for the debt unpaid of sins committed here, of sins committed here. Let's hear Father Phil's reading. For the dead.
Our next poem is called For the Dead. Help, Lord, the souls which thou hast made, the souls to thee so dear, in prison for the debt unpaid, of sins committed here. Those holy souls, they suffer on, resign in heart and will, till thy high behest is done, and justice has its fill. For daily falls, for pardon crime, they joy to undergo the shadow of thy cross sublime, the remnant of thy woe. Help, Lord, the souls which thou hast made, the souls to thee so dear, in prison for the debt unpaid, of sins committed here. Oh, by their patience and delay, zeal to burn away disfigurement and stain. Oh, by their fire of love, not less in keenness than the flame. Oh, by their very helplessness. Oh, by their own great name. Good Jesu help, sweet Jesu aid, the souls that he most dear, in prison for the debt unpaid, of sins committed here.
Thank you, Father. I think what's fascinating in this poem is St. John Henry Newman's linking of the flame of purgatory with the flame of say, the Sacred Heart, or the in Beatitude in heaven. That connection with flame, of course, John of the Cross, Teresa of Avila, the medieval theologians, the function of flame, clearly linked by Newman. One more of Newman's poems, The Two Worlds. And let me read that to you first. Yes, 55. So this is also in verses on various occasions. Unveil, O Lord, and let us shine in glory and in grace. This gaudy world grows pale before the beauty of thy face, the beauty of thy face. Till thou art seen, it seems to be a sort of fairy ground, where suns unsetting light the sky, in flowers and fruits abound. In flowers and fruits abound. But when thy keener, pure beam is poured upon our sight, it loses all its power to charm, and what was day is night. And what was day is night. Its noblest toils are then the scourge which made thy blood to flow. Its joys are but treacherous thorns which circled round thy brow, And thus may we who renounce for thee its restless aims and fears, the tender memories of the past, the hopes of coming years, Poor is our sacrifice, whose eyes are lighted from above. We offer what we cannot keep, what we have ceased to love, And Father Phil.
Our final poem from the saints is called The Two Worlds. Unveil, O Lord, and on us shine in glory and in grace. This gaudy world grows pale before the beauty of thy face. Till thou art seen, it seems to be a sort of fairy ground, where suns unsetting light the sky, and flowers and fruits abound. But when thy keener, purer beam is poured upon our sight, it loses all its power to charm, and what was day is night. Its noblest toils are then the scourge which made thy blood to flow. Its joys are but the treacherous thorns which circled round thy brow. And thus, when we renounce for thee its restless aims and fears, the tender memories of the past, hopes of coming years, poor is our sacrifice, whose eyes are lighted from above. We offer what we cannot keep, what we have ceased to love.
Thank you, Father Phil. I've included in this presentation the poem of Father Faber. It's Of Eternal Years. You know, of course, that Faber wrote tons and tons of poetry. Voluminous, yes. And so it's curious to me that people were so, well, without the radio, the TV, all that we have technologically, they would turn to poetry. It's a beautiful time of the world's existence. Anyway, so Of Eternal Years.
Mary?
Yes, Matt?
Oh, yeah, Mary, I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't mean to interrupt, but there's about 5 minutes maybe left. A couple minutes, we can get a couple minutes more out of our session.
Great.
So you can keep going, or if you want to take a few minutes for a question from anybody, you could do that too. That's going to give you the option.
Let me play you Father's, okay, of this poem.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Great, okay.
All right.
My, how time goes. Okay.
We're now going to listen to 5 verses of a hymn called Of Eternal Years by Father Frederick William Faber. It is the Father Faber's 16th verse of Eternal Years that Cardinal Newman was so fond, to the extent of requesting its frequent repetition during the final days leading to his death. How shall they bear the cross that now so dread a weight appears? Keep quietly to God and think upon the eternal years. Upon the eternal years. One cross can sanctify a soul. Late saints and ancient seers were what they were because they mused upon the eternal years. Upon the eternal years. Bear gently, suffer like a child, nor be ashamed of tears. Kiss thy sweet cross. In thy heart sing of eternal years. Sing of eternal years. He practices all virtue well, who his own cross reveres, and is in the familiar thought of the eternal years. Of eternal years. Thy cross is quite enough for thee, though little it appears, for there is hidden in it the weight of eternal years. Of eternal years.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Here's Matt. Well done, Matt.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question? Anyone want to direct a question? Mary, you can just unmute yourself and go for it. Unless we have a, yeah, Bernadette, go for it.
I was wondering about the occasion on which he wrote his poem, Christmas Without Christ. It sounds like he's in Italy, which makes it very peculiar that he thinks it's without Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And I wonder if I might ask, one thing a source I've been looking for is that Of Eternal Years was recited relentlessly for Cardinal Newman in the last days. I know there's a citation for that. I haven't been able to find it. If anybody knows, please let me know.
Oh.
It's in a book, I know, because, so.
Yeah, I may be able to write to you well, someone wrote to me saying that a book by someone named O'Neill gave backgrounds for many of the poems. Unfortunately, he didn't tell me the title of the book. So I have to write back to this person and then see if I can find it on WorldCat. It didn't show up in any of my databases that I have access to under the conditions of the virus. So, so if I find out that book, it should have backgrounds for the poems. I did see a dissertation, a thesis, which didn't have very good backgrounds, didn't really give details except dates of publication and locations. So, you know, conditions of composition would be nice to have.
Yes, surely, surely. Thank you very much.
There we go. Father Juan, yeah, go ahead.
I think if that poem might have been written in Malta, and he was in quarantine. He was in quarantine in Malta, and I think it was Christmas Day. I could be mistaken. So he was basically he was in quarantine. So that's why he couldn't be at a church. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Mary, did you set the music to the Lead Candlelight that we heard it first?
Yes,
Oh, that's beautiful.
I think.
Yeah.
Grace of God, Father, grace of God. I had nothing to begin with.
I like that very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. For those who would like to use it, okay, my old website has a version, has this, the Lead Candlelight, but presently I'm with a new website, People Maker, and they're going to have all the hymn accompaniments and with the melodies, and you don't have to buy the whole book. Just pick and choose whichever you want. They're actually going to be, I think it's 165 hymns, but it's including these 6, which are the Contrafacta. Also, I have Latin hymns such as Anima Christi and Maria Mater Christi and Flores, again, very Latin texts that are well beloved through the ages that I also adapted to some of the hymns. So anyway, that website is nicholasmaria.com. The first one I have right now is, that one is going to be done, and then the new ones will be pretty soon, like in a month or so. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. We are out of time. The next session starts in 8 minutes. So you leave this meeting and then join in the next one under whichever presenter you want to like attend. Just click the link under their name, and hopefully it goes as smoothly as this one went. Thank you, Mary, very much. That was great. Great way to kick it off.
Thank you very much.
All right, hopefully we'll see everybody around. All right.